At the beginning of the chapter, the work of Shlomo Melech in the building of his home. And we noticed similarities between the building of his home to the building of the Beit HaMikdash. We truly saw that just like the Beit HaMikdash was compiled of a courtyard, a mavoah, a corridor, Kodesh Kodeshim, we see that the Tanakh goes into details that so too regarding the Bayit, his Bayit, the Bayit of Shlomo. Also, there's Yar Levanon, and there's a corridor, and there's a place where he lives. So we see that the Torah goes into such detail, and we're still in question, why is it necessary to express such detail, such beauty, the beautiful stones, and the gold, and the erez that's coating the walls, and so on and so forth. We wanted to understand these matters. And now we further go into an understanding about the building of his home in Pasuk Gimel. Vayishlach HaMelech Shlomo vayikach et Hiram mitzor. Is this Hiram the king of Tzor? No, it's not. Does he have the same name as the king of Tzor? Yes, he does. Hiram. Who is he? And what is he about? Pasuk Yudaled, Ben Isha Almanahu. Okay? His dad passed away. Where is his dad? Mimate Naphtali. That's his mother, rather. She's from the tribe of Naphtali, the upper Western Galilee, or Eastern Galilee, shall we say. Today where tanks are and a lot of soldiers there, and the towns are evacuated. Ve'aviv ish tzori. Meaning, his Abu passed away was a man from Tzor, Tyre, Lebanon of today, which could be Asher, the tribe that's north of Naphtali, Asher perhaps, in the more western coast. And what was his father known for? His father was a Choresh Nechoshet. He was a coppersmith. He was a brilliant artisan. And apparently the son inherited the talents. So here we have a person called Hiram, from two different tribes, mother and father. By the way, if that's the case, his descendants, his lineage goes according to the Abba. Like we learn in Parshat Pinchas, Leveit Avotav. He will be regarded according to the house of the father. Now, what was he given by God? Isn't that interesting? Very similar terms are mentioned here, like they're mentioned about Bitzalel, as far as the builders of the Mishkan. Okay? Whatever is regarding copper, he was an artist. He was very talented. After being taken, meaning order to come, vayas et kol melachto. So he's doing all this unique work that's made out of bronze. And now this could be, of course, for the Beit HaMikdash matters, as we're now shifting, going back to the Beit HaMikdash. What was the most magnificent thing that he built? We'll see it right now in Pasuk Tedvav. Vayatzar et shnei ha'amudim nechoshet. He built two fabulous pillars. Why do I say fabulous? Let's see the dimensions mentioned right away now. Shmon esrei amah. Would you believe it? 18 amot. That's 9 meters high. That's approximately 3-story building. Phew. Okay, we're talking here about a amud, a pillar. I just want to show you prelude to something. We're talking about something magnificent. We're going to talk about 2 and not 4, but we're talking about something of this structure, not 9 meters high. Plus, we're going to learn that it's going to have a capital, a koteret, on top, all made out of copper. Shnei amudim nechoshet, 18 amah, komat amud echad, vechut 12 amah yesovet amud hasheni. Well, each one is 18 amot high, even though it's only said about 1, and each one has a
So it's like
there's like a wire.
Oh.
Made out of, I don't know, That's 12 amot in the circumference going around each amud. And all of this is for beauty. All of this is for beauty. Ushte kotarot, asa, koteret is also the top. It could be the head of your piece of paper, the headline. It could be a capital, a beautiful construction on the top of the amud. And look at the size of this. It's all there, of course, for aesthetics. Ushte kotarot asa, meaning for each amud. Latet roshei amudim mutzak nechoshen. It's molten, made out of copper. What's the height of the capital on top? 5 amot, komat koteret echad, ve5 amot komat koteret hasheni. In other words, this amud is not only 18 amud high, 18 plus what, 5 is 23. We're talking about 7 meters plus, more than 7 meters high. Am I right? Huh? 5 plus 18 is 23 amot. Yeah, we're talking about 11 meters high. 11 and a half meters high. Magnificent. It's a 4-story amud. Gigantic.
That was for one, that was inside.
So now we're going to see. It'll be outside. It's going to be the famous amudim that from there you go into the heichal. And they're going to be called Yachin and Boaz, as it's mentioned later in the chapter. And this was very famous. This was not ordered to be done. Maybe Shlomo Melech received, maybe he's doing it willfully, maybe he's not, we don't see a nevuah, maybe he was ordered to do so. Nonetheless, Pasuk Yud Zayin, verse 17, as we go on to see the aesthetics of these amudim, Svachim Asei Svacha. Here we're talking about this type of, a pattern of beautiful flowers on these amudim, gidilim asay sharsharot, like chains going around them, lakotarot, asharosh amudim, shiva lakoteret echad, 7 of these sharsharot, I believe, these chains of copper, they're designed on top of each crown. Okay, shiva lakoteret echad, v'shiva lakoteret hashenit. Now, after this great work done by Mr. Hiram, okay, from the tribe of Asher Naphtali, we believe now he's completing the work, as we see in verse 18. Vayas et ha'amudim, meaning the Gemar Melacha, he's completed the work. Ushnei turim saviv al asva echad lechasot et hakotarot asher arosh rimonim v'chen asa lakoteret hashenit. It's a little difficult to understand here, but we're talking about decorations of a rimon around the koteret to cover the capital on top. So this is a decoration of a rimon, maybe a pomegranate on top of the koteret. It's interesting how the Tanakh goes into detail, all this beautiful aesthetics. We learned about it that in the Beit HaMikdash, when you combine aesthetics to the service of God, when you're giving beautiful art a value of holiness, then we're using the best artisans. It's going to be the nicest place, like it says in the song of Moshe, Ze Eli ve'anveu. This is my God, and I will make it beautiful. It's like a hidur mitzvah. Let's go on. It says that there's like a rose design on top of the capital in verse 19. V'kotarot asher rosh amudim maseh Shushan. Shushan from the word Shoshana, like a rose. I don't think it's after something about Shushan, the city in the Persian Empire. And all this is ba'ulam, at the corridor, arba amot. 1 second. Why does it say that this is in the area of... This is a question for the Dat Mikra in verse 19. Just like inside the ulam, the corridor, there's these beautiful flowery formations in the walls and so on. So too here on top of the koteret, these flowery rose designs. That's what it means. Because these 2 amudim, these pillars are not, I repeat, are not inside the ulam, but rather outside, like you asked before. Pasuk verse 20, v'chotarot, on the top of the capitals, Hashnei Modim, Gam Mimal Milumat HaBeten Asher Le'ever HaSvacha, Varimonim Matayim Turim Saviv, Ala Koteret Hasheni. So there are apparently small types of capitals above the big ones. That's how they're explaining here. The beten is some sort of architectural term for the lower part. And the Tanakh here is talking about decorations of the form of rimonim, of pomegranates, that they're intertwined one to another on top of these matters. I don't understand what exactly it's talking about, but take it for what it means, at least this way. And now we have the establishment of them. In other words, do you remember, as you get holier into the Beit HaMikdash, you're going in the easterly direction, or you're walking in the westerly direction, in the Beit HaMikdash? We're going west, that's right. We're going towards the Kota, on the Temple Mount, right? Of the wall today. So too here. When it says that these two amudim are established, these two pillars established, la'ulam meichal, meaning west of the ulam. East of the ulam. East, in other words, not yet west, so it'll be at the entrance to go inside. Something spectacular, something so gigantic. It has probably a deep impression on the Kohanim that are going into the Kodesh area when they see something so magnificent. All this, what appears in the Beit HaMikdash, is supposed to uplift our minds, our beings, our hearts. When we're working the Beit HaMikdash, that we're dealing with supremacy, we're dealing with godliness. So therefore, these gigantic fixtures, pillars, are there. Okay?
So this was a Har Bayit.
Absolutely. It's at the entrance to go into the ulam. The ulam is going east. At the ulam, there's a corridor, the Kodesh, and the Kodesh HaKodeshim. And here we're told where it is. Let's keep on reading in verse 21. Vayakam et ha'amud ha'yemani. He establishes the pillar on the right-hand side. When we say right-hand side, we mean going to the south. Yamin is going to the south. Vayikra et shemo Yachin. The name Yachin is given. Vayakim et amud asmali, and the left pillar is established. Vayikra et shemo Boaz. And we ask ourselves, is there meaning? Probably is. Yachin and Boaz. So there's a bracha that we say that the building of this Beit HaMikdash by Shlomo, the blessing will be Shikon Habayit Le'olam. Let it be established. Yikon, from the word Hachana, preparation, establishment. So Yachin is from the language of preparation. This work of building these pillars be forever when it's now being established. Whereas the second name, Boaz, you've heard of that name before? Boaz, we know comes from a compilation of two words. Bo, Oz. In him is their strength. Meaning this too is a prayer. We're asking God, please give in this Beit HaMikdash the strength of being sustained, established. Let it be for eternity. Like we say in Tehillim, Hashem Oz li'amo yitain, Hashem yivrech et amo v'shalom. There is a Midrash Tehillim that mentions another meaning to the words Boaz, Yachin and Boaz, that each represent the luminaries of the world. In other words, Yachin represents the Areach, the moon, a great illuminary that God created to bring us light at nighttime. Boaz is the Oz, the strength of the Shemesh, right? When you see the sun coming up in the morning, wow, like a Gibor getting up early in the morning, giving us light. That reminds us of Gvura. Like King David writes, Yasis ki Gibor larutz orach. May you rejoice like a courageous man to run on the street. So this Midrash, what's called Midrash Tadeshe, talks about that each represent the great illuminaries of the world, that many people were mistaken over the ages to serve them thinking they're independent gods, but we know they're only a function of godliness to bring light during the day and the night. That's what the Midrash says. There are other meanings, but I think we'll settle for that. So here it is. The work is established. When you walk into the Heichal, to the Kodesh, right by the entrance to the Ulam, you see these two gigantic pillars, like we said, 11 meters high, almost 4 stories high. Ve'al rosh amudim, pasuk 22. On top of these pillars that the kotorot are, Masei Shoshan, we explained, there's the work of these flowers of roses. Vatitom melechet ha'amudim. There's so much work done. Now it's finished. Now it's completed. And here the Tanakh makes so much mention out of it in order to explain that, all these beautiful things have a place in the Beit HaMikdash. In the Beit HaMikdash. Okay. Shall we continue? We now go to another element being built, again by this great coppersmith by the name of Hiram. Pasuk 23. Let's now go to the Yam. Vayaset Hayam. Okay. The Yam is a gigantic water container. And because it can contain so much water, it's called Hayam.
It functions as a mikveh.
We're gonna what?
It functions as a mikveh on the harbor.
Yes. So on the one hand, its major function, first of all, it's made out of nechoshet. And if it's made out of nechoshet, Mr. Hiram is engineering and the making of it.
Is this like the one they had in the Beit HaMikdash?
Okay, this will be in the Beit HaMikdash. Because of its greatness, as opposed to small kiorim that they would have, this was gigantic. In fact, the Rambam writes in the laws of the building of the Beit HaMikdash, Biyat HaMikdash, it's called the Yam Shel Shlomo, the Sea of Shlomo. By the way, there are commentators on the Talmud that are called also the Yam Shel Shlomo. Again, the Rashal, one of the great Achronim. Anyway, it served, like you asked of it, as a mikveh, because there was really a canal of water that goes into it. Some of you understand or have studied already some of the laws of mikvaot. Once waters are put into a vessel, the vessel turns the waters into what's called maim she'uvim. They're absorbed, drawn waters. Once water is inside a kli, it's invalidated to become for a mikveh waters to purify someone. However, like we have in our present day mikvot, if there's a water coming into it, which is straight from rainwater all the time, and it's touching the pool of waters of the mikveh, and that's called hashakat, like kissing it, the waters, kosher waters are touching the waters of the pool of the mikveh. That's what happened there. There was like a stream of water coming into the Yam Shel Shlomo, and Chazal say, so it turned it into the kosher mikveh. The Gemara estimates in Masechet Pesachim, it would be the size of 150 mikvaot. That's how gigantic the pool of water is. And therefore it's called Yam. Mutzak, it's molted out of copper. Eser ba'ama misfato at sfato. In other words, the radius of this pool is 10 amot. That's 5. The edge. The edge.
Okay.
From the safa at sfato, from one edge to the other edge, it's eser bama, something gigantic. In other words, the circumference. One second, we're talking about the circumference or the radius? No, the radius is half of the circumference, correct?
Yes.
So I think here we're talking about the koter. The koter is the circumference, right?
Yeah.
The word koter. So the circumference from one edge to the other edge is 10 amot. That means it's 5 meters. No, 5 meters circumference. That means it's gigantic. How tall is it? And it says, V'chamesh ba makomato. It had the height of 2.5 meters. In other words, it was taller than the ceiling.
What is that? Argol here?
Round.
Oh.
We're talking about the circumference. Okay? V'kavo shloshim ba'ama yasovato saviv. So we're talking here about fantastic numbers. Its height, which would tell us the depth of the waters. So we're talking about something fantastic, about 150 mikvaot. So this is an established mikveh in the Beit HaMikdash, and some say that it was approximate given the circumference and the height, they approximate that it takes about 40,000 liters. 40,000 liters is a lot of water. And that would be the size here, about 100 mikvot. How do we do it? Yes, this guy will tell you about 3.14. Is that apple pie or raspberry pie? Right? We'll make the formula with the height and this and that. We'll come out to somewhere around 40,000 liters. What else is made with this lovely yam? The area on top or on the bottom of this structure, it says, apparently at the edge on top, underneath it, are these beautiful decorations that are on the copper. Pikaim are like recently sprouted flowers. Okay, so vavimoto are around. They're decorating all the circumference. Eser bama makifim et hayam saviv. We're talking here maybe about the circumference of this yam. Maybe each and every amma of the circumference, you would find about 10 different decorations of flowers. That's what the Ralbag explains. Okay, what is the base of the structure? So what you see here, the bakar, you see cattle over here. This is not imaginatory. It comes now. What was the base of this great yam? Verse 25, Omeid, it's standing on what? Al Shnei Asar Bakar. It's standing on 12, okay? 12 made faces of copper cattle, okay? And the yam is standing. In other words, it's molted into these 12, and the 12 are divided into 4 directions where 3 cattle, 3 male cows are there. So they're divided into groups of 3, 3, and 3 and 3, where it says Pnei Bakar, they're facing what direction? Ushlosha ponim yama, ushlosha ponim negba, ushlosha ponim mizracha. Okay, so they're pointing to each of the areas, north, south, east, and west. So we have groups of 3 to 4 different directions. What do you think the bakar stands for, gentlemen? Huh?
Prosperity.
Prosperity. What else?
It reminds also of the Egel.
But here it's not made out of zav.
The arrangements remind me of the camps of the Midbar.
The arrangement, the camps of Midbar.
Tribes around the Mishkan.
Okay. It could be. Certainly, bakar represents strength. Cattle, they were the tractors of those days. Bechor shor, right? Ephraim is likened to Bechor shor, an ox, strength of Israel. Our strength is not necessarily physical strength, but spiritual strength. The waters which are purifying allow us to serve God not only with holiness, but through purification. Ken, here we're taking waters, purifying ourselves, working in the Beit HaMikdash, and that gives us the ability to work out of purity, not only holiness, but purity. Purity represents like the good heart, the good intention of your heart. You're working with your mind, but you're also working with your heart. And maybe it allows us to think of matters of purity, of purity of thought, because a person a Kohen must tovel, immerse himself each and every day to make sure that he's not defiled to any matters here. I think when we're going out to work in the Beit HaMikdash and we pass through the areas of the 2 gigantic pillars that are so gigantic, Me'er Nechoshet, 9 meters high, okay, and then we see in the Azara, before in the courtyard, we see this gigantic sea of Shlomo with 12 different bakar molted out of copper. We see fantastic things. They have to have an impact on our minds, on our inner beings. Okay? And we're hoping that this Beit HaMikdash will be Lanetzach. That is the prayer. Oh, strength, Yikon. Let it be established. That's apparently one of the ideas of this matter. We're told exactly regarding the measurements in 26, Ve'ovyo tefach. The width of the copper there is 1 tefach. 1 tefach, that's the width. So 8 centimeters, about 1/6 of amma. Some say it's 1/7 of an amma. Somewhere between 8 and 9 centimeters. Usfato, and it says here in Pasuk 21, the edge of the Am Shel Shlomo, the upper edge we're talking, Kimasei Sfatkos Perach Shoshan. Meaning it's like Alei Perach Shoshana, roses that are like coupling up, that are folding itself to the back. Some beautiful decorations that I don't understand it. But here I want you to know a name of a quantity. It says Alpaim Bat Yachil. Alpaim Bat Yachil. Bat here does not mean daughter. Bat is a volume of a liquid. Okay? It's the largest liquid volume that we have. Okay? What is it equated to? 1 bat equals 3 se'ah. We're talking about 6,000 se'ah mayim. So that gives us the understanding what we said before, tens of thousands of liters of water in this matter. And of course, all is it for tahara. It could be that the 12 cattle represents the 12 tribes, okay? That each tribe has part of the waters, part of the purities, but they're all united in one building, one structure. And maybe we're learning that the strength of the Jewish people, the base of the Jewish people is this structure made out of copper, 12 cattle. They represent the base. Base is through tahara, purity, through water. That's the strength of the Jewish people. Now, they didn't only use it for what? For mikveh. We had other structures called mechonot. Okay? We're going to learn that there are mechonot on wheels, that they're going to be used like the kiyur in the Mishkan for kiddush yadayim v'raglayim. So the Tanakh says in Kaf Zayin, Vayaset ha-mechonot, these mechonot, ha-mechonot it says. We're talking here about a very intricate structure which is movable, motioning, and the kiyur, the wash basin, would be on this mechona. So this mechona, which is like a trolley with wheels, you had a wash basin on top, and it would transport water to anywhere you needed in the Beit HaMikdash. So vayasat ha-mechonot esu nechoshet, 10 of them. If there was 1 kiyur in the Mishkan, there are 10 kiyurim in the Beit HaMikdash. Some ask the classic question, why? And the classic answer is, well, the area of the Beit HaMikdash is indeed 10 times the size that we had in the Mishkan, which will justify the area, the expansion of the area, to allow 10 different wash basins made out of nechoshet in this case. Again, it's made for what? Kiddush yadayim v'raglayim. Before a kohen gets started to work, he would have to sanctify his hands and feet. One, his right hand on his right foot, his left hand on his left foot. We're told the dimensions of this, and what is it? Arba ba'ama orech ha-mechona achat. The length is 4 amot, 2 meters. V'arba ma rochba, and its width is 4. Seems to be square, 4 on 4, 2 meters on 2 meters. V'shalosh ba'ama komata. The height is shalosh. So if we had a gigantic Yam Shel Shlomo, here in opposition to the Yam, we have here a mechona carrying a wash basin, and by definition it's circular. So if the height was 1 amma above, it's 1 amma under the square. It's 4 by 4 by 3. And it was apparently also beautiful, made out of this copper structure. And we're told that it's made in kafchet. There's a miskeret, there's a frame for it, as we see in the pictures here. In verse 28, V'zeh ma'aseh ha'mechona misgerot lehem. Okay, and the mechona had a framework. Each and every mechona had a frame, like walls, that would contain the wash basin, and the wash basin would be placed inside this frame, inside this area. Umiskarot bein hashlabim. The shlabim, some others explain, we're talking about the faucets. And there were decorations all over the areas here. Furthermore, Pasuk Kaftet, Vala Misgarot, regarding these frameworks that carries the wash basin, Asher ben Hashlabim, Arayot Bakar. The designs of lions, Bakar, Ukruvim, cattle, and Kruvim, heads of angels or human beings. Vala Shlabim Ken Mimal, so too on the fourth. Masei Morad. Thank God we have the Rabbi, the Dat Mikra series. So these braces are adding aesthetics or beauty. Masei Morad, meaning they were like beaten up metal and put into there. What about the wheels of these mechonot? Again, this is for Kiddush Yadayim v'Raglayim. Pasuk Lamed, V'arba ofanei nechoshet lamechona achat, V'sarnei nechoshet, V'arba pamotav ktefot lehem, Mitachad lakior ktefot yitzukot me'ever el ish liyot. So here we have, in order for the mechonat to be able to motion from place to place, they attach to it 4 copper wheels. And the action of the ofanim, of these wheels, is like the ofen of the Merkava. What Merkava are we talking about? Huh? In the prophet's vision, very good. So we have a lot of pnimiyut here, a lot of kedusha here. That's what it's talking about. We'll continue with this point tomorrow, B'ezrat Hashem. Amazing.